In the Heights. I don't have anything beyond in the. Wow, that was shrill. In the Heights. Da, 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 da. In the Heights, not directed by, but produced. The song is written by Lin-Manuel Miranda, same man behind Hamilton. Sent by in a couple things, really. And he's in the movie too, as a side character, a very brief side character. Keep that in mind, but a side character nonetheless. He has a scene too where he's like a shaved ice, like a snow cone salesman, and he's getting got the ice cream guy kind of like giving him dares, like, yeah, I'm gonna drive you out of business. Same guy who plays Washington in Hamilton. I'm like, I recognize that guy. But actually, I've already, except for a couple of them, I've already forgotten the name of most of the characters. Okay, Usnavi is the main character. Vanessa is his love interest. Benny is the black guy. I can't remember him. Vanessa's his love interest, and I can't remember most of the other characters' names. But it's a musical, obviously, from the trailers. Though some trailers can be a little bit ambiguous of whether or not they're like that. Life is Strange. Strange Magic. That's all I was thinking of. That one, when I first saw the trailer for it and then saw the movie, I'm like, I didn't realize this was a musical from the trailer. The trailer honestly didn't do a good job at portraying that to me. This obviously is clearly a musical. And, I mean, right off the bat, what do I think of it? Now, yeah, right off the bat, I was 2 minutes in. It was good. It was actually a really good musical. And a good movie, ultimately. I mean, musical, movie, they're two separate things, but at the same time, they can be one thing entirely. In this case, a musical movie. What's the best way for me to say the minor thing I had a problem? The length isn't... I don't want to say the length is noticeable. It's almost 2.5 hours long. But honestly, it's got a good flow, frankly. It does have a good flow. I'll say this. There are a couple of moments in the film where my mind immediately goes to, like, wait, if this is happening in the real world of your song, I mean, yeah, the musical, they're not noticing the musical part, obviously, because you don't notice the musical part when you're in your own world. You just think it's a normal part of life. I'm like, okay, so one scene, these characters are in a basketball court while there's a game going on. They're just having the musical and dance, and all I'm thinking about is, are these people playing the game? It's like, dude, we're playing a game here. What the hell? Get out of the way. And then you see this one in the trailer where they start dancing on the side of the building. I'm like, okay, this is all in their imaginations. Then you see a kid noticing, oh, they're dancing on the window. Like, huh? And I'm just wondering, like, okay, so in the reality of set here, if this kid just noticed that, are they actually like supernatural beings and they're just suddenly now expressing their love and with their powers? I'm like, just saying. It's just like, I get it from the world. No, I'm not going in my pants, Jeff and Edge. Just from the world you've set, it's like, okay, whatever. But those are like and they're not even like complaints. I'm just things I noticed. But it's hard to say what the plot of this movie actually is, because there are actually multiple plots for multiple characters going at the same time. What I can say is the theme of the movie. The theme of the movie there's a few things, but the theme of the movie seems to be about, chasing your dreams and realizing what those dreams actually are. Because that's a big thing. Like, so many different characters have their own different dreams. Usnavi has his own dream. Vanessa has her own dream. The daughter of, and I always forget his name. I know immediately to see him. He's actually a main character, too. He's the father of the girl who comes back from college. I can't remember his name, and it's bugging me crazy. I should have stayed for the credits. I didn't. He's, not Laura St. It's gonna bother me. I'm gonna figure it out after this. But anyway, he's got his own little story that involves his daughter's story, but they're two different dreams that eventually coincide. Sonny, his cousin, has a dream. It does have some level of dream to it. There's many different aspects of dreams going on in the story. But it's also, and relationships between these people. And it's actually, I think, very well handled because it's actually very realistic in how it handles the subject. One person's dream does not always coincide with another person's dream. And they illustrate that point multiple times in the movie. Like how my fingers look in this. No, I'm not high or anything. I noticed the way my fingers look like, it looks like an enemy. It's an enemy. It's like, I'm a goofball, whatever. It's like, let's talk about the movie. Come on. And yeah, I do really like the fact that it takes actually a real look, and not just a real look at dreams, but the fact that there are white people in the movie, but not only are they not main characters, few to any of them have speaking roles. Now, none of them are evil or anything like that. They're not like, it's not like how Spike Lee kind of painted white people a lot in his movies. And to a degree, understandable given how he came up and, the things he's seen. But there's basically no even supporting cast member who's white. It's all people of Latino, Hispanic, and as far as I'm aware, those are apparently two different things. If I'm wrong, people of... see, the problem is, Hispanic for me, and this is coming off as a white guy's perspective, so I apologize if I'm offensive at all. Hispanic seems to be like the broad spectrum term, but I know there's Spanish, there's Dominican, there's a Haitian, there's actual Spanish from Spain, but people, there's Mexican, there's Cuban, like there's so many different things there, but like the broad terminology from how I've heard it, this is also coming, I've heard it from people of that racial background, because again, it is Hispanic. So it's mostly like a Hispanic cast with some African American cast in there as well. But yeah, it is just pretty much a heavy on that, and like that actually, and honestly, that works completely well, because if there had been like a white sub character or even a main character, I'll be honest, that character would have stood out like a sore thumb. They really would have stood out like a sore thumb, because of the type of neighborhood and environment and community they had established here. Now, that's not to say, we do see them in the community. They do exist in this community, and they're just as welcome as anyone else. It's just that they're not the focus. It's not their story being told. Because one of the other aspects of the story being told is racial discrimination and, the hardships that a lot of people of minorities in this country have to deal with. Now, as generations have gone on, to be honest, in a couple more maybe decades, they tell you white people, we're actually going to be the minority most likely. Because just first off, there's just so many people of other races that live in this country, not just white people, that they're already forming a very large minority in here. And you keep that up, and then you factor in multi-interracial couples, give it a couple more decades, maybe not even, and tell you white folks, we're the minority. And you know what? I don't give a damn about that. I have never given a damn about race at all. I'm not one of those idiots that's like, hey, I don't see race. No. That anyone who says that is racist in a completely different way. You're ignoring the fact. It's not the fact that I've never seen race. I don't want to say it like this. I have many friends of all racial backgrounds. I think that's the best way to put it without saying like, I have a black friend, I have a Hispanic friend, I have an Asian. No. But I have many friends of many racial backgrounds. And I've always noticed that they are of a different racial background. I just didn't give a shit. Like, they're good people. That's all that matters to me. That's all that matters to me. So, yeah. And I do like the fact they are tackling more serious subjects in this. The songs, I mean, they're very Lin-Manuel Miranda, definitely Lin-Manuel Miranda, and they're good. They're great songs. There's a couple that stand out. The 96,000, which is basically, there's a running theme about a lotto ticket. And I'm not going to say I'm not going to spoil much in here, obviously. But there's how that ends, that lotto ticket thing ends, is both, everyone got a laugh, and it was a combination of a great laugh, the feels, and then the humanity in it, of what happens with that ticket. Like, it was so brilliantly played out, the story and journey of that ticket. But there's a song about that. There's obviously the beginning song, which is In the Heights. There are several. I'm trying to think of a couple other songs that really stood out. I think his name is Benny. The guy, black kid, I keep saying black kid, he was easily in his 20s. Black guy who, the main black character who worked as a dispatcher in a taxi cab service. He's got a good song there. But, the songs like this, dancing's great. But what I like about this, I think, more than a lot of other musicals, that's not true. I've seen a decent few musicals in my time. Like La La Land I thought was great. And this did something that La La Land also did. The producers, the remake of The Producers also did. But something like, think words here. Something like Repo the Genetic Opera, Les Mis, Moulin Rouge. I do know. I am one of the people who actively does not like that movie. And that's not a slight against anyone in the movie. Is that it isn't just constant singing. In fact, there's a moment, and I'll talk about this moment last, where there's actually a good 15, 20 minutes of no singing. It's just the story and the acting. And what happened prior to that, playing into effect of everyone. It's actually really well done. And I appreciate the fact that there isn't just straight singing. 1 minute dialogue leading to singing. Phantom of the Opera had this problem too. Singing. It does give you time to breathe between the songs, and it's really appreciative of it. I'm really appreciative of that. And yeah, I will say this too. Obviously, I've been on record saying there's one thing that's going to get me these days that gets me there's two things, but there was one big thing that gets me emotional in movies, and there is a character death in the movie. That's the one spoiler I'll give to you. And if you're watching the trailers, to be fair, if you watch the trailers, you probably wouldn't recognize who the character is who doesn't make it out. But there's a character death in the movie, and the way it's handled. Oh my God. See, the way it's handled too, I started getting really emotional because obviously I was getting fucking flashbacks to my mom. And then they give you a weird fake out on this. Because they make it seem like this character is going to be... They give you a light at the end of the tunnel scenario. And it actually makes it seem like the character's choosing life. And then they don't. That's about as heavy on the spoiler I'm going to get. And the way that entire scene plays out nearly broke me in the theater. I had tears in my eyes. I was doing everything I could not to just blabber, turn into a slobbering baby in my seat. I nearly had to step out just into the hall for a brief second, just collect myself. But I got through it, and I'm like, God damn, that was. And then there was a song involved in that sequence too. And then there's dead silence after. The way they play this entire scene out is, oh my God, it is heart-wrenching. And it's beautifully done too. That's the problem. That's why it's so heart-wrenching. It is beautifully done. And like I said, all I was getting was flashbacks to my mom. I'm like, Jesus Christ, what are you doing to me in this film? But you know what? The fact that's the test. I mean, don't get me wrong. Most movies that do something like that effectively, and that's the key there. That's the key word there. Effectively. Any film that can do that effectively is going to get that emotional reaction from me now. So, yeah, the fact that they were doing it that way, I give you props in the Heights. And look, I would watch this film again, and I probably would still get emotional at that scene. Maybe not as bad now that I know what to expect, because I saw Coco twice, and I got emotional both times, but I was able to control it a bit more the second time around. Same with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Weird to say, but the end funeral with Yondu. That, Cat Stevens and all that, and, Star-Lord, his relationship with that got to me. It still gets me misty-eyed to this day. I can control a lot better now, but actually it didn't affect me the first time I saw it, but afterwards when I saw it again, I'm like, yeah, I'm a blubbering baby at this point. But look, that's actually a testament. The film's really well made. Actually, it's a very good musical now that I bring it up. It's my favorite musical, say, in the last 5 years, because I've actually seen a few now. That's a good question. I'll say this. I don't see me repeating or singing the songs from this as much as I sing the songs from Grace. My radio's a little shot. I still need to get this thing repaired. I will still just sing the songs. I own the soundtrack to Greatest Showman. It's right down there. I still sing the songs, The Greatest Showman, on my own in my car, just on the way somewhere with the radio off, to just be like, whatever. From now on, like, I'll just do that. Yeah. And I don't know. So I think I like the music soundtrack in Greatest Showman better. This is definitely a better movie. This is a better movie than Greatest Showman. And I'm just thinking of Greatest Showman and La La Land as the two big examples because they're the most recent ones I can recall. La La Land, though, that one's a tougher one. I think the message... Yeah, I think the message is better in this movie about your dreams than it is in La La Land. Because their dreams came true in La La Land, just not in the way they wanted. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to spoil too much, but we get something addressed. We get that addressed in this movie too. But I think they handle it better in this one. And it's not, and that isn't a slight against, like, being a predominantly white cast in La La Land. I've heard people get on La La Land's case about that it should have been like a black lead and it's like taking roles away from minorities, stuff like that. Yes, jazz, it was started out as a black community thing, but guess what? White people can like jazz too. Like that. See, I'm completely all for more representation in film. Like, I agree. If it had been a black lead or minority lead, I would have been perfectly fine in La La Land for that too, like 100%. But I was perfectly fine with them, Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, because guess what? Jazz isn't exclusive to one community. Yes, it got its roots in that culture or in that community, but that's